up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam show. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam show. Turn it up.
What's up, everybody? What's going on, everybody? We are here once again for where are we? 703, y'all? Are we 703? Let's get some music rolling, man. I think we're at 703, man. Let's see. Let's find out. I'm almost positive we're at 703. I think we're at 70. Yep. 703, y'all. 703 episodes of the Pancakes and Power Slam show. We are live in living color. Getting funky like a monkey. Ooh, if you will. What's going on, everybody? Come on in. I am excited. I'm going on vacation, man. So I'm going to cut this episode a bit short. And I actually got something fun to compensate for my vacationing. And so since I will not be live, I want y'all to come with me to the Patreon after I do this class. This class is going to be really fun, by the way. It's going to be really fun tonight. I'm talking about the law of attraction. It's the law of attraction that we're used to. We'll see. We'll see. But come on in, y'all. Come on in, y'all. I will say here in a moment what I'm going to do for next week's show. And for those who benefit from it, you will... you'll like it. You'll definitely like it. So come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Come on in, y'all. Yeah. Yeah. Got some good questions, by the way. Got some good questions. Ask Doc. Hashtag Ask Doc. So yeah, come on in, y'all. We are going to start class. So I can get this. What's up, Rollin? I can get this. Man, I want to let this song ride out. I love playing this song, man. Yeah. All right, we do gotta get started though. Let's keep it going. Hey, I got a minute to spare, man. I ain't in no rush. I am in a rush, but I can call an audible for this amazing tune to start off the show. But I will say this though. This class is going to be fun. We're going to be talking about why do people like Dominik Mysterio now? It's an interesting concept, man. Psychology is such an amazing field. You really get to know how people think in the realm of psychology. And it's funny because I know me having a PhD in psychology, I don't get easily shaken by people's actions because I understand how people think. And so, and it's always it's always fun to see. It's always fun to experience the way that people think, and it's always exciting to see. It's always a fun case study to see the petulance of adults in the pro wrestling field when it comes to opinions. It's always a fun case study, man. Always a fun case study. It's always fun to see and to just observe and say, okay, yeah, that's par for the course. That's definitely not a surprise. And so, it's really fun to talk about psychology in pro wrestling. That's the reason why I love the supporters of the Pancakes and Power Slam show, because it gives you all an opportunity to understand from a more objective perspective. You're distancing yourself away from the mind of a fanatic, obsessive pro wrestling fan. You're distancing yourself away from that and understanding how people think in general. And so now we're going to use the topic, the prompt, so to speak, of why is Dominik Mysterio? This is the same person who got booed out of the arena every time he wanted to say something because the fans wanted to put themselves over, because the fans wanted to be a part of wanted to hijack the show. I've talked about why fans think that way so many times. Go watch my previous episodes. But why did all of a sudden the shift come where people started to cheer him? We're going to get into that. But before I get into, I ring the bell again. I'm looking forward to ring the bell. Before I ring the bell today for class, I do want to let you know that there will Pancakes and Power Slams will not be live next week. You know, I hardly ever. I've had 703 episodes. I think I missed actually 1 week ever when I went on a cruise a couple of years ago, and there was like probably less than a handful of times where I have replacements. But even when I missed a week, I'm compensated for it in different ways. But I will say this. I want to be sure to air something on PMP next week. So here's where you come in. If you hop on the Patreon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer a bunch of these Ask Doc questions, and I'm going to answer them with people. If I understand people are late. I got a lot of patrons, but it's late. It's usually after 1 a.m. by the time I jump on the Patreon. I do, have some really, really fun conversations on the Patreon. But here's your opportunity to hop on the Patreon. It's going to be, short enough for you to get some sleep for work tomorrow. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have the Ask Doc questions. I'm going to have a bunch of them, there's already a bunch of them so far. I'm going to answer them live with my Patreon, and I'm going to air that for next week's episode. So you get a chance to be a part of next week's episode of PMP, episode 704. Hop on the Patreon, and we're going to answer those Ask Doc questions together. So it's going to be fun. Until then, let's get to class, y'all. Come on. Y'all better sit down. Quit conversing with each other. Y'all got y'all's coffee already. So it's time to sit down, take a sip, and enjoy the ride. So, I had a couple of things. I always have a bunch of different things to talk about, a bunch of different ideas. And always found this concept to be very, very interesting when it comes to relationships and communication. And so this, I'm going to talk about the law of attraction, and I'm going to talk about the gain-loss theory. So when it comes to the gain-loss theory, it's a subset of the law of attraction, but they both really started to become really popularized around the same time. 1971 was Don Byrne, and I'll go more into Don Byrne as far as just his impact. I mean, he's written dozens of books about social psychology and clinical psychology. He had a PhD, and yeah, I mean he's had so much influence in the world of social and clinical psychology, and so he's the birds of a feather flock together type of mindset when it comes to attraction. And so I'll get into debunking some law of attraction things as well. So let's talk about the gain loss theory. The reason why Dominik Mysterio went from being absolutely hated to absolutely cheered in many ways, especially when he won the Mega Championship. He's getting cheered much more on WWE, and he didn't do anything different. He did absolutely nothing different. This is the same guy who would grab a microphone, open his mouth, get booed out the arena. This was the same guy who had multiple times where people just felt like he was being just kind of there. There's an element of there-ness that still exists, that's still present, because I definitely think that WWE can put him in some type of storyline that makes sense. You recently had Rusev interrupt, them being in their, Judgment Day room, and that's how we got a title match with Rusev. I mean, think about that for a second. A story between a heel and a heel developed, and he hasn't turned. He could have absolutely turned babyface after WrestleMania. They decided not to do that, which was terrible timing. You missed the boat there. Now you have a heel, Rusev, coming into a heel locker room or video game room or whatever hangout spot with the Judgment Day, challenging a heel, and that's how they end up having a title match. And so there's a lot of missing parts when it comes to Dominik Mysterio, but he is starting to become liked more after being one of the most hated, jeered people in the entire WWE. That is because of what was coined as the gain loss theory by Elliot Aronson and Darwin Linder in 1965, as far as just when it was first kind of popularized, and they started doing subsequent studies a few years later to really start to bring the science into it. So the American Psychological Association, their dictionary defines the gain loss theory as a theory of interpersonal attraction, stating that people's like or dislike for another person is more strongly affected by the degree to which they believe they have gone up or down, and that individual's estimation, then by the unvarying degree to which they think or they are attractive or unattractive to that person. All right, so let me read that again. It is a theory of interpersonal attraction, stating that people's like or dislike for another person is more strongly affected by the degree they believe they have gone up or down in that individual's estimation, then by the unwavering degree to which they think they are attractive or unattractive to that person. So what does that mean? That means that oftentimes when you had a very, very strong dislike for someone, that person, you tend to increase your emotional arousal, and that degree of dislike has a pendulum effect, and you start to have an affinity towards that person and like them. Now, this doesn't always happen when it comes to, you just not liking people. However, though, there's concepts of, why do women like jerks, for instance, I mean, there's an emotional arousal that comes from people that you have a strong disliking for, because that energy and because that emotional arousal is present. It has a type of reciprocal effect on the other side, and you become you start to build an attraction for that person. And so that's basically the gain loss theory. And I'll get more into it from a scientific standpoint. I mean, there's so many times this happens. Like I said, why this person's a jerk and not very nice, and why you see, attractive women, date jerks, because there's this arousal that comes from dislike, because it is an emotion that oftentimes actually draws more of a sense of bonding because of that aggressive, those aggressive style of neural transmitters. The aggressive style of processing your emotions, and you're kind of winning and currying the favor, or winning over, or trying to mentally win over that person, and eventually you get to get a strong affinity for that person. It's a very interesting concept there. And then, of course, a lot of best friends used to hate each other. That's another very, very common and very popular concept, very, very popular example. A lot of best friends used to fight each other. They fought for, they hated each other so much. And this happens a lot. This happens a lot, actually, especially like in school and high school and stuff like that. And even, in early adulthood, you can have like people who hated each other and got in a fight, and all of a sudden they become best friends. That's the gain loss theory. That's that concept of strong dislike, and eventually there's a tipping point where I'm seeking to win you over, because I want to mitigate, and I want to create a buffer for this strong sense of dislike. Now, of course, when it comes to social disinhibition and anonymity, I've talked about that many times on this show. When it comes to like social media influence, that happens at times, but a lot of times it doesn't happen, because there's so much anonymity, because there's so much, insecurity, and just personal and intrapersonal struggles and insecurities, and wanting, it's a pratfall effect in many ways when it comes to your perception of what someone views. And if they start to blunder, it adds on to your perception, versus someone who you view like from a celebrity figure. If they do a blunder, it actually humanizes them, and actually brings you stronger to them from a bonding perspective. That's what the pratfall effect is. But unfortunately, from someone you already view negative, the same pratfall, the pratfall effect happens. Well, it's the same. It occurs. It applies as well. If someone you already view negatively, if they blunder, or a perceived blunder, it just adds on to your perception of this person too. So you have to consider the pratfall effect when it comes to one's viewpoints, one's comments, and that pratfall effect is oftentimes kind of spearheaded by what's called the horn effect too. And so when you have the halo effect, that your perception of someone is positive just across the board, across every different types of situations, versus the horn effect is the opposite of that, where you perceive someone typically always negatively, even if they don't show negativity in certain areas. I mean, like if you perceive someone negative in this area, you perceive someone negative in other areas, despite them having any type of data to show that. I mean, an absolute prime example of that was over the past week or so. I was thinking about a couple of things from some conversations I had with a couple of people, actually John Cena Sr. and Vince Russo, and I was fantasy booking. I was coming up with some ideas that would churn some interest and have some and be interesting. And I came up with John Cena and Brock Lesnar being the tag team champions to revive that, beginning a feud with the Bronze. That would actually cause the Bronze. I would have the Bronze win the tag team championships and have John Cena and Brock Lesnar, enemy of my enemy is my friend type of deal, cause that cause some type of life to the tag team title hunt, and then the Bronze win it back. And it was a thought, it was an opinion, it was just a booking idea that I was like, you know what, it's interesting to me because this will, whether you like it or not, it will draw emotion, it will draw buy-in, it will draw interest. And that went viral on YouTube. And I mean, I had like 100 and something quote tweets and a bunch of other reposts and over 700 likes and a bunch of comments, just questioning my my educational background, questioning my PhD status, that because I had an opinion that was different than theirs, which I always think is incredibly laughable. But that is the Horn effect. If because I had an opinion that differs from there, especially if we're dealing with the IWC, this is the mindset. This is the case study. This is the type of people we're dealing with here. So it's par for the course as far as just the erratic and extremist emotional behavior. I've talked about that plenty of times on prior shows. But Horn effect at its core, because there's a difference in opinion from a simple theory of fantasy booking. Now my educational accomplishments are in question because I have an opinion about pro wrestling. That's the Horn effect at its core. And so when you're dealing with the Horn effect, when you're dealing with pratfall effect, those different, intricacies, those different elements and components, they can definitely affect when it comes to this gain-loss theory. But overall, when you have a genuine relationship with someone that's negative, or when you have a genuine just kind of thoughts or viewpoint to someone that's negative, and you have frequent interaction with them, even if it's parasocial, then you start to grow an affinity of liking them because you don't want to continue to manage that discomfort of that negative feeling. So in a study involving college students engaging in a series of meetings, a participant accidentally, when it was actually an intentional part of the study, accidentally overheard the experimenter describe them in one of four ways. 1, all positive. 2, all negative. 3, initially negative but becoming positive. Or 4, initially positive but becoming negative. So participants liked the experimenter when the evaluation was completely positive. Of course, that was an expected part of the experiment. However, they surprisingly liked the experimenter even more when the evaluation was initially negative but became positive. So that's the science behind this gain-loss theory as far as just from an experimental standpoint. They liked it when it was all positive, but they liked it more when it was that sense of redemption. And I talked about that before as far as just having those redeeming qualities. How do you how do you get to a point where you feel a sense of redemption in yourself, or from the perspective or from the viewpoint that people give you? And so it's an interesting concept. People want to curry the favor. It's that sense of belongingness. It's that innate sense of affirmation that people have, especially if you don't especially if there's lack of confidence in one person, or if it's just a sense of, it doesn't even have to always be a lack of confidence. It can be, it doesn't have to be always this person's like gravely insecure. It's just that need for affiliation. It's that need for affiliation that we have. There's actually industrial, organizational, psychological components when it comes to the need for affiliation, and how having that, that award or that reward type of feel, or that sense of praise from people motivates actually people in the job force to continue to perform at an optimal level, hearing the praises of people. So that need for affiliation, there's three different types of needs, actually, one of them being a need for affiliation. So you see that in the study, that people who actually saw that they were initially disliked and then liked, that's a sense of empowerment. That's like a victory in their minds of, this person didn't like me. Now they like me for something that happened that caused a shift in their mind. And so it caused me to feel accomplished that I was able to shift their mind. So the model was first proposed by, again, Elliot Aronson and Darwin Linder, 1965, and a small number of studies were carried out in the late 1960s and early 70s. So the idea behind this is that a person's change of opinion is gradual and different from the all positive or all negative. It's gradual. And so it reveals to these theorists that someone has what's called a true change of heart. So it's not inauthentic. It's not fake and phony. However, it's considered a true change of heart because of the gradual process from disliking someone to eventually liking someone. So that's a very interesting point there. A very interesting concept behind why people take that shift from strong dislike to oftentimes strong like. So typically when individuals encounter someone with similar attitudes, they feel effective attraction for the similar other. And that's where we get into the law of attraction, because so in general, when you have similarities, I mean, there's different types of attraction kind of motifs. It's, power. You can attract, people are attracted with people with power, status, physical characteristics, similarities. Those are four very common ways of why people get attracted to people. The reason why people are attracted to those types of people is because the interactions are considered smoother and more enjoyable when individuals share a high degree of similarity, even if the level of similarity is perceived and not based on reality. So when it comes to the pro wrestling fandom, when people can relate, that's the reason why characters matter so much. That's the reason why Dusty Rhodes, for instance, was such a amazing, popular, everyman character with some soul, with some blue-eyed soul, baby. Because his height was a little big, his belly's a little big, but these baddies know he's bad. Because he was able to say my hand to your hand and reach out to the common person watching from their television screen and say, we can connect. We have similarities. And so that's the reason why Dusty Rhodes was able to be such a huge babyface throughout his career. And that's the reason why someone like a Hulk Hogan was a big babyface, because there's a status that someone wants to be like. Someone wants to train. Someone wants to say their prayers. Someone wants to eat their vitamins and believe in themselves to become this big, huge, buff, example of a person. someone wants to be like Steve Austin because they can't stand their job and they want to rebel against their boss. And they saw a real life scenario of that. They saw a real life example of someone hating his job and basically making his boss life a living nightmare. There's some connection to that. And so that's the reason why the law of attraction, it helps. It's applied so much in the world of professional wrestling because you deal with power. You deal with status. You deal with physical attraction. You deal with similar qualities, even if it's perceived similarities, as studies show. Byrne posited in his book the attraction paradigm, and I read quite a bit of this book, and it's very interesting. He had a bunch of hypotheses, and yes, he did, show that there is similar attraction. There's a law of attraction to people with similarities, but he also said he also posited what's called a disagreement produced arousal, and this is where attraction toward disagreeers increased after prior disagreement. So it showed in his studies that even with people who you disagree with, or from a civil standpoint, of course, because again, I say when it comes to like emotional irregularity, that's an extremist type of thought process, and that it really doesn't give an opportunity for neural pathways, to operate properly. And so you're bringing a bunch of cortisol in the mix, and you're bringing a bunch. You're decreasing. You're increasing just this really unhealthy dopamine, and your mood is all over the place. Serotonin levels are jacked up. And so it's really bad for your neurotransmitters to operate effectively if you get into a lot of just emotionally erratic behavior, which we see with so many people on the interwebs nowadays. And it's been like that for a while. I talked about Twitter and social media influence and that anonymity that comes in between that. But when we're talking about everyday, realistic conversations, communications, and even from a standpoint of saying that even if the relationship is parasocial, it does still have an impact because the perception is there's some similarities. That's the reason why people can connect more when it comes to Marvel movies, DC movies. It's that connectiveness of we share a similarity of the babyface beating the heel, the foe losing to the good guy. That's a tried and true common, similarity, common interest when it comes to people. It goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. And so the good versus evil, that's that common shared interest and similarity there. So it's easy for people to buy in from a pro wrestling perspective. It's easy for people to do that. And so this law of attraction, it really shows the scientific and the psychological component of the legitimacy of this and why it really is a thing. And the gain-loss effect is very, very interesting when it comes. There's also other studies of someone's arousal when they first, get into a relationship versus the arousal levels when there's more time with it, and certain things that you have to do to maintain those arousal levels because of the trajectory that it goes and how it goes when time goes. There's so many really fun studies when it comes to attraction, and it can really, really be applied so much, not just pro wrestling. And on this show, I do a pro wrestling prompt, and I barely talk about pro wrestling in my class as a whole because it really expands so much outside of pro wrestling. And so when you're thinking about someone who you have this give and take cat and mouse relationship, a coworker, a neighbor, someone who, who kind of pretends that they don't like you because they're starting to like you more, and then they try to go back and try to get to a point where they're even more trying to push away from you because they really starting to grow feelings for you. We see this in so many romance movies for decades. And so that law of attraction is a real thing. But here's the thing. Let me debunk something real quick before I get into these questions. The common version of the law of attraction from The Secret movie and all these new age concepts, all these new age books and things like that, that's actually debunked in the psychological world. And it's actually it's viewed by social psychologists to be, quote, not a theory that has any scientific support, leading social scientists to often cite it as a prime example of pseudoscience. So this whole positive thoughts lead to positive manifestations and negative thoughts lead to negative manifestations, definitely rejected from a scientific perspective. It's actually considered pseudoscience. But from a standpoint of a Don Byrne and the gain loss effect and all the scientific studies that were involved there, from a standpoint of Elliot Aronson and Darwin Linder, and those theories actually they've been tried, they've been tested, they've been experimented. There's the science behind those theories that do show it. It do show that people cling to people with similarities. People do aspire. They cling to people who they're inspired to be like. They cling to people where they find physically attractive. They cling to people in a certain status and a certain sense of power and influence. And so those are really areas where the law of attraction actually is scientifically proven, not this new agey manifesty, all that. That's pseudoscience in the world of social sciences and psychology. But when it comes to someone like a Dominik Mysterio, the gain loss effect works very well. It's true. It's true because Dominik Mysterio falls right into this category. He was hated by so many people for so long, and then it was just a shift. WrestleMania, it was just something about that. He was, because there was an underdog feel to him, and so then we get that reciprocating, we get that retribution, we get that reciprocity when it comes to that. We get that ability to come back, that comeback feel, that ability to regain one's status and be a likable person, because during the Brock Lesnar Rey Mysterio feud, he was very likable. He was, when he was hanging out with his father, he was very likable. And then he became very likable, and then became this huge heel that everybody disliked. And then the pendulum swung right again because people started liking him again, just like that on a whim. Why? Because that dislike was so huge. I mean, it was major. And because of someone saying, okay, having this amount of disdain for someone isn't the most comfortable. However, I am going to explore what it looks like to actually like him. And then that's when you say, boom, that's where that moment comes in. He wins the Intercontinental Championship of WrestleMania. Was hated before, but because he fit that role of that underdog, boom, just like that. It changed the hatred to the likeness. Sometimes in real life, it takes argue, coworker, can't stand you, can't stand you. And then it just takes a matter of a compliment that comes one day. Good job on that. Good job on that promotion. Boom. Just like that. Zoop. Just swings just like that. It takes you at times there's a neighbor that you keep going back and forth with. This is my area. This is my area. Why are you mowing in my area? What are you doing? And it just takes a simple, hey, congrats on your son graduated from high school. Oh, thanks, man. That's cool. And then started to find similarities. Oh, okay. Well, I see that you got a Pittsburgh Steelers placard or Pittsburgh Steelers decal on your car. Yeah, I do. You like Steelers fan? Yeah, blah blah blah, and that gets into, oh, okay. Well, you want to come over and watch some? Oh yeah, man, what's up? Let's do it. And then now y'all talk all the time. You know what I mean? So that's where the gain loss theory comes in, man. It's a really interesting concept. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is class for today. I really liked addressing that because I want you all to think that it's not weird that you used to hate someone and now you like them a lot. That there's some science, there's some psychological and social science behind that concept of why did I used to hate this person and now they're my best friend. You know what I mean? So it's a really interesting concept, especially when it comes to why people like Dominik Mysterio now versus hating him before. All right, class, that is class for today. That was really, really fun. And what I'm going to do is I am actually going to tackle a couple of these questions, and then I'm going to hop on. I'm going to notate these questions, and then I'm going to do an episode of next week's PNP on the Patreon for y'all to see. All right, so let's see. We have on Raw. Let me see. All right, let's see what I'm going to talk about. Let me know your thoughts on who this is. Who, but lately picks a fan with the Y6. Oh, okay. That. See, these are interesting. All right, so I'm going to address these. I'm going to put these on the screen. I'm not going to say them in depth. I'm going to maybe say some in depth, but I'm going to put them on the screen just so I can come back to them and answer them in depth on my Patreon. All right, so we got comment from James, of course, #AskDoc. I'm going to answer that on my Patreon. There's another comment from James. There's a comment. I never thought people took Dom seriously as a heel. Rhea and he turned gender norms with her head, and it was extremely entertaining and jumped the shark. Then people stopped taking it serious. That's an interesting. Yeah, that's a fair assessment there. People just he was getting that go away heat, and he was getting a standpoint of like people just wanted to get themselves over. But yeah, he was booed tremendously though. So Danimal said, happy Tuesday. It's just a matter of time Dom becomes a face. I agree, but I also feel, but let me do there we go. Question cam. Also feel though that they missed the boat at WrestleMania. I think they missed the boat on that tremendously. That's when they should have turned him. Remember, The Rock had to be hated first to get it. The Rock is a great example of this. Yep, The Rock is a great example of this. To get over as a face, same thing might happen to Dom, and he might be the next star. Yep, Rock is a great example of this. He, went to the Nation, became a heel, and then he became one of the most popular people ever. Same with Austin. I mean, he was a heel. He was a huge heel. I mean, Austin 316 came from a heel promo beating Jake Roberts. And then he became one of the biggest baby faces. I mean, these are all examples of the gain loss theory. That's why it's easy for someone who's a extreme heel. It's easy for someone who's an extreme heel all the way over here to become a beloved baby face on this side because of the gain loss theory. Rollin, the IWC is disrespectful and delusional for questioning your educational credentials over pro wrestling comments. You mentioned the attraction, the status, were fans attracted to Dom's IC upset win? Oh, that's a good question too. Okay, I'll address that at the Patreon. That was good. That's a good question. Yes, going against his boss and beating him up endeared fans to Austin. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was the attraction that people experienced for Austin. That they can relate. That they can relate to Austin because of that. Ezekiel says, interesting, and blamed it on them baby facing Dom with the whole boo section. Anytime he picked up the mic, made him more of a heel. That's fun to boo rather than the Roman Reigns type. Yeah, I mean, it's about people. It's more people were getting themselves over by booing Dom. It's not. Dom didn't really do. He wasn't and it really isn't still an amazing heel. But what he is though is he has the ability to elicit that much reaction, and that works. So how do you use that to your advantage? And so that's the big thing when it comes to someone like a Dom. How do you use it to your advantage that you are getting so much heat there? And that's where you get that pendulum swing. And that's the reason why WrestleMania was such a very important time for him to turn babyface, but he didn't. All right, we got Mato. How about Jade's cut in the botch from SmackDown? Also, good win for OSU over Michigan. Okay, I'll adjust that comment on the Patreon. But as far as OSU's win over Michigan, over Washington, I should say. Well, I'm speaking in the future now. OSU's win over Washington. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. First of all, here's my issue. First of all, Desmond. Oh man, what's the quarterback's name from Washington? Really, really good quarterback, and he was told. I mean, he was viewed throughout Damon Williams Jr. Yeah, so he's really good. Desmond, yeah, I mean they've got some studs on the on the receivers ran and definitely the quarterback. They were 4-0 heading into the Ohio State game, but for some odd reason they're deciding to they made an 0-2 Notre Dame team ranked still. They put TCU in the rankings, and TCU did absolutely nothing to prove themselves in the rankings whatsoever. And there was another team that they put in there too. That's USC did nothing, but they were just putting teams in there that didn't make any sense at all. But you got a stud and Desmond Williams and Damon Williams Jr., I should say, and man, they didn't make them rank. Jonah Coleman, yeah, he's another one who he's been balling out too. So they missed the boat on that, man. I think Washington should have been ranked because I do think Washington is probably going to be, well, it seems like it at least, as far as what have been doing for with Damon Williams. He looks good, man. He looks solid in the Ohio State game. It's just Ohio State's defense is just so airtight, stout defense, man, that is just absolutely incredible. So, yeah, I think they should have been ranked, and it was in Washington, and there was a lot that Ohio State had to. That crowd was loud, was very, very loud. There were some false starts, and of course, that comes with having loud crowds. That's the reason why a lot of practices include being able to have those silent counts because of that really, really important factor of live crowds, live away crowds. So, first of all, Julian Sands is a baller still. He's not just some 1 week sensation, 2 week sensation. He's legit, man. But Damon Williams Jr. too. He's good too, man. And I liked what I saw when Washington was playing, and I think they're going to be okay, man. 8-9 win season. So yeah, man, I think they'll make a really solid bowl game, and I think they'll be all right. All right, Elvis. Did your new favorite NFL team win this week? And is your new favorite NFL team the Steelers? We shall see. We shall see on the Patreon. Indeed. All right. Definitely got some comments here, which is great. All right. So, yeah, there's a lot of comments on here too. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. Thoughts on Cena retiring this year, then AJ Styles retiring in 2026, and can WWE survive without them? I really don't think they can. All right, that's a good question too. All right. Of course, #AskDoc. There are comments on here, but I think that's the questions that I'll address. So, yeah, that was great, man. That's great. Great comments, great questions as always. Fantastic class. Always coming through for me. I'm about to take a break from working, and this is much needed for me, y'all. I got one more podcast to do after this, and I'm gonna take a break, man. If y'all follow my Twitter, man, just thank you, Roland. Therapist, a dean of a department at a college, 6 shows a week, and a DJ. So I'm busy. Saturday is usually days for me to just kind of catch up from my long week. But man, Saturday was rough. I had a DJ, a couple huge, very important events. And so I started prepping. I started DJ prep, and it's such a hassle to prep, set up and tear down DJ. Started that at 8:30 a.m. and didn't finish DJing until by the time I got everything down, it was 10:30 p.m. So that was a 14-hour day. On top of today being a 16-and-a-half-hour day, yesterday was it was like 15 and a half. So I'm tired, but I'm still here, y'all. I'm going to talk about workhorse. Y'all, that's the thing, man. Again, we go back to the halo effect, as Roland was talking about, with just how delusional just the IWC is. People don't understand how much I put in for these shows, man. I'm telling y'all, it's just Monday. I love these shows. These shows are fun. So I'm a lot more peppy when it comes to this show. But when it comes to Raw, man, I really appreciate the love and the treatment that I'm getting, and the level of respect, and certainly the pay that I'm receiving when it comes to Sports Keto. But I will say this: it's tiring, it's exhausting, and Mondays, if I enjoy the product more, I would be more peppy. So I do my best to, and plus that's a long therapy day too. Well, every therapy day that I have is long, but I'm going to therapy, and then I have to watch Raw after being a therapist. Then I have to review Raw and talk about it. That's a dud. But I'm a type of person that is very blunt and honest and realistic, but I'm very, very optimistic. And always, you can tell, you can ask loved ones this. I make lemonade out of lemons. I'm a very positive person outside of pro wrestling. I'm very critical of pro wrestling, but outside I'm just positive, man. I spend my energy wisely as far as just, bringing positives out of things. That's what I do as a living, as a therapist. I look at the positives and I help navigate people into those spaces. And it's crazy because pro wrestling does. The pro wrestling me is so opposite than the reality me. It's just, as far as how critical I am about things and stuff like but it's fun, man. It's a fun dynamic. It's a part of me that you get to see that's very hypercritical about the product, and so it's fun, man. I've embraced it. I've embraced it. It's like it's a segment of myself that I just get to, heal up. I'm a baby face by heart because of my strong faith and how serious I am and devoted I am toward my faith, and how I love people, and how I am honest and firm and caring, though, super caring to people, empathetic toward people. That's a skill set that I have to learn as a therapist, and just as a person, as a Christian first, and as a therapist second. I have to learn that skill set, but also people know me to be very, very direct, because I love people, and I think people deserve to be challenged in a tactful way, because we all should be pushing to be better. So that's my TED Talk for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. that's the one. That's my TED Talk for tonight, and I really hope that you all take that in, man, because this phony baloney pro wrestling business is, it's fiction. It's fantasy. There's absolutely no reason at all for people to appreciate that, Zubair. There's no reason at all for anybody to get so butthurt over anything professional wrestling. It's zero, especially adults. I was having this conversation with my family recently, man, about adults and pro wrestling, man. It's just, when you're having someone in their 30s and 40s get to the point where they want to blow a gasket over someone's opinion about pro wrestling, that person needs to be in my office. And unfortunately, the pro wrestling business, if those people were group therapy session attendees, you better pay me a lot of money, because we'd have a large group therapy session, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll have a small class. We got a lot of people in the class, so it's not small. And plus, I need to not say that about my stuff. It's not small. We have a sizable class of people like yourself who's watching, who are intellectual and seeking to become more intellectually mature, intellectually strengthened, and emotionally strengthened, as we all should focus on doing every single day. All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hop over the Patreon, address these answers. Hop over with me if you want to be on the screen, and if you want to be a part of next week's Pancakes and Power Slam show episode, hop on the Patreon with me, and we're going to have some fun. Again, I know that it's late. You know, it's funny with the Patreon, man. Sometimes I have 2 to 3 people. Sometimes I have 5, 6 people. You know what I mean? So it's fun. And then I'll have some people commenting too, and you know, who doesn't want to be on the screen. And so it's a fun time of the Patreon. It's really fun. But now you get to be a part of next week's show on the screen. So it's going to be fun. So without further ado, with that being said, I am Dr. Chris. Enjoy your week of wrestling. God bless. And always remember, I do it for you. Have a good night, everybody. Shalom.